Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. It's Janey Lee Grace. I hope you're well and I hope you've had a good week. It's been one of those just weird weeks, I think. Certainly it has for me. In the UK, we've got this, there's so much uncertainty going on at the moment. We keep having, there's press conferences and, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? It feels so kind of, uncertain, which is a really unhappy place to be if you're someone who's, trying to make a behaviour change, because our unconscious mind likes to do exactly what we've always done, doesn't it, really? And it doesn't like change, and it doesn't like uncertainty. So if you're in the early stages of ditching the booze, I feel for you now. Just you stay strong, absolutely stay strong, and focus on the good stuff. Absolutely focus on the good stuff, which is kind of what our chat is going to be about later. I'm talking to Neil Shah. I mean, I very rarely get into anything. Well, I would never get into anything political on the podcast, of course. But I'm chatting to Neil Shah from the Stress Management Society, and he makes his views, really very clear. But it's all around the concept that actually we need to come together. We need to quit with the judgment. Be non-judgmental and practice kindness and actually just come together, and that can really change a lot. So that very much fits with my my mantra. I'm a very big fan of being non-judgmental. It's this sort of kind of core that runs through the Sober Club. But before we get into chatting to Neil, I wanted to tell you about this fantastic brand. I've been, doing a lot about kombucha over the last few months. But we've discovered this absolutely great brand, which is perfect on the go because these cans, they're called Nunc. It's Latin for now. And they discovered Nunc Kombucha. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. Nunc Kombucha, which is often referred to as the champagne of kombucha. And it's brewed using traditional methods. So they've got these, they've sort of adopted the brewing techniques that you would use in winemaking and beer making. And that allows them to control the alcohol levels and then minimise the difference in taste. And of course, kombucha is good for us, right? And what's unique about this one, the Nunc Kombucha, is that it's fermented with raw honey instead of cane sugar. So it gives it a lighter flavour. It's bee friendly, they tell me, so that's very important. But it's also gluten-free and low calorie and completely natural. So you haven't got any of the fillers and the chemicals and the nonsense that sometimes gets put into these drinks. But in this case, it's what's on the can is in the can. So it's made with the finest green tea and the raw honey, as I say, and it's undiluted and unpasteurised and completely natural, so no sugars or extracts or anything else. And the sugars, the only sugars, are from the honey, which the SCOBY needs to thrive. You've heard me talk about kombucha before, and the SCOBY, which stands for Symbiotic Colony of Bacteria and Yeast. Such a fabulous word. And they look hilarious as well, if you've ever seen a SCOBY. But the really cool thing about this brand as well is that the raw honey comes from their own bees in Buckinghamshire, or from other beekeepers who are within 5 miles of them. So this is a truly artisan brand, and there's 3 flavours. We sampled some last weekend. I did my first course for Sober Club coaches, training coaches. We had a wonderful time, and we absolutely sampled some of the Nunc. It was great. So there's the rose blush, which is very sort of delicate and floral. Then there's the juniper, which uses Mayo Feng green tea. I hope I've said that right too. It's got flavours of coriander seeds and ginger and fennel and cardamom pods. It's absolutely lovely. A slight hint of spice as well. And then there's the hops monster, which is award-winning, and that's fermented in small batches using organic sencha green tea, premium botanicals, whole hop leaves, and the raw honey, of course. It's a great substitute for beer. And then you've got the Mango Buzz, which is available just for a limited time. So it's their limited edition, Nunc Kombucha. Uses sencha green tea with raw honey, and then it's cold infused with organic mango, ginger, organic turmeric, and white peppercorns. So honestly, I fancy one right now. It's such a lovely brand. And we've got a case to give away I'll put that in the show notes. So if you go to nuncliving.com, N-U-N-C, nuncliving.com, and then I'll put all the details in the show notes, and you can check out our competition to win a case of Nunc as well. You've heard me say so many times, keep the ritual, change the ingredients. When we fancy a nice drink, just don't be in that stress mode of, it might have to be a cup of tea. Everyone else has got a nice drink and I have to have a cup of tea. No, you don't. You can have a can of this on the go, right? Even if you're on a train or whatever, if you're traveling, that's what this is just great for an actually healthy drink that is alcohol-free. So there's no excuses. I mentioned our coaches course. It went really, really well. It was the first one, and I'm planning another one for January. So if that's something you may possibly be interested in, maybe you're already a coach or a therapist, or it's something that you want to sort of add to your toolkit, your skill set, then just drop me a message and we can have a chat about that. We've got another Sober by the Sea. I'm pretty sure it's sold out, but drop me a message if you're interested. And Champneys as well, might be a couple of places left. What I did want to tell you about is that I'm going to be hosting a workshop which looks at addiction and trauma and how we can just kind of reinvent ourselves really and get unstuck. Some of you know I've trained in family constellations, which is just amazing. So I'm going to be hosting a workshop in the not too distant future, hoping to do it before Christmas if we can still do workshops and stuff. So maybe drop me a message if that sounds like it's something of interest before I get my dates absolutely finalised. So as promised, Neil Shah, I've interviewed him on the podcast before. He's so inspirational. I absolutely love the work that he does with the Stress Management Society. So yeah, enjoy the interview. Well, I'm so delighted that my guest once again is Neil Shah, Chief De-Stressing Officer. I love that title, for the Stress Management Society. Thank you so much for joining us, Neil. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me back. I really enjoyed our last conversation.
I know, it was ages ago, wasn't it? It was before the sky completely fell in. And since then, you wrote a piece for my book as well, which I was very grateful to you for. Really, really summed up beautifully, some of the ways we can sort of handle stress. For anyone who hasn't seen that or they didn't hear our previous podcast, do you want to just share a little bit about the work that you do?
Absolutely, and thanks for asking. So I run two organizations. One is called the Stress Management Society, which is a non-profit charitable enterprise I started in 2003, essentially to create a happier, healthier, more resilient world, to help people that are struggling with stress, poor mental health, poor well-being, and just empower and inspire them and ensure they have an understanding of what they can do to really start to take control over the challenge they're facing and understand how to basically recover from the challenges associated with stress and poor mental health. Then we found that actually we do also need to pay the bills, and running a non-profit charitable enterprise is very hard work because you're constantly reliant on public funds or charitable donations. So we actually set up a research and consultancy organization called International Wellbeing Insights, which essentially does consulting work for large corporations, for multinationals, even at national level for countries. And the revenues that we generate doing sort of culture change and wellbeing programs for corporate organizations helps us to fund all our non-commercial activities. Also, last September, I set up an organization which is now called #Better Together, which has been really sort of a support network and campaigning for change with regards to everything that crazy that's going on in the world. And we're also very strongly supporting the #Together campaign, which was set up by a friend of mine, Alan Miller, which essentially is just to ensure that we are thinking critically about all the things that are happening in the world around us, that we're not just accepting the status quo, and also to really start to turn the tide of polarity that is so strongly dividing our culture and our societies. there was a point where we could have a difference of opinion. We could support different football teams, have different political views, different religious views, and we could agree to disagree. And we jumped from that, and this has literally happened since the last time we spoke, where if you don't believe the same things I believe, you are the mortal enemy and you must die. And the level of polarity that exists from everything from mask to no mask, vaccine to no vaccine, Republican, Democrat, Labour, Tory, Brexit, Remain, it's just, the list is endless. And I find that really concerning, because actually why we set up Better Together was when we stand together to face all the challenges we face in our society. That's when we can win. If we're so busy fighting against each other, we're not really looking at the real issues that are affecting our society, and particularly the issues that we faced over the last 18 months or so with the erosion of people's civil liberties, human rights, people's choices being taken away. When we feel powerless, we're told what to do, who to do it with, where to do it, how to do it, even what to wear, what else you're doing it. And ultimately, there are many different public health and social risks that affect our societies. We've put all our eggs in one basket and ignored all the others, which ranges from the issues that I care very much about, like stress and mental health. Obviously, the issues that you care about, like addiction. And
Absolutely.
we've seen, like in America, opioid overdose deaths are greater than COVID deaths. And actually, there's been probably about a 30% increase in opioid overdose because people are stressed and they're looking for things to numb themselves. So again, until we start to have grown-up conversations and look critically at all the issues that we're facing, what we'll find is whack-a-mole. You get rid of one issue and you create 5 others in its wake. And that's really where it's important that we start to have sometimes uncomfortable but grown-up conversations, and not necessarily see the person that doesn't believe the same thing as you as the enemy, but actually the person that doesn't believe the same thing as you as the opportunity for us to understand and empathize and come together to find the truth that sits somewhere in between our two perspectives.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, and you're absolutely right. There absolutely needs to be this holistic approach. It's utterly ridiculous to pick up on one small thing. You mentioned there that obviously one of the things that, has been massively affected is addiction. Obviously, within the work that I do, I've seen huge rises in numbers of people who, even if they had cracked their addiction, they've kind of rolled right back into it with all the stress that's been going on, feeling, as you say, cut off from other people, hasn't helped one bit. Just before we go any further and dig into some of this, just remind us of your situation, because I think last time when we spoke, I just really wanted to get you on the podcast because I'd seen some of the work that you do, and I didn't even realize that you'd had your own battle with alcohol. Just remind us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, not just alcohol. In fact, when we spoke, I think I'd been sober for 2 years. I've had a real on-off relationship with alcohol to the point where I had a relatively abusive relationship with alcohol, and also recreational drugs through much of my 20s and into my 30s. And as with many things that I used to lean on, it was a way of escaping, numbing, and anesthetizing some of the pain and the trauma that I was carrying through my life. Over the last couple of years, I've done my best to tread a more spiritual path and to really stand in integrity, which means sometimes also standing in pain and trauma and just being honest with yourself, rather than looking for escape or blame, to sometimes get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's interesting having this conversation today, Janey. This is actually the toughest day of the year for me. It's 4 years ago today that my father tragically just passed away with no illness, no warning, just had a brain hemorrhage and was gone.
Wow.
And it's this time of year every year that this kind of comes up, and particularly over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, with so many different things that have happened, including sort of some of the things that happened to me personally, sort of a relationship breakup, kind of loss of a lot of business opportunities, kind of being locked in my home alone, not being able to turn to all the coping mechanisms that I would normally do, such as just spending time with friends and family, going to the gym, exercising, traveling. I travel a lot for work. I wasn't able to do anything. I was literally under house arrest. And I really struggled. And there were dark thoughts that are coming up. And then there's that natural reaction is, how can I stop this pain?
Yeah, exactly. How can I get away from it quickly?
Absolutely. And in the past, I probably would have turned to drugs or alcohol. In more recent times where I got rid of the non-socially acceptable strategies, I then started to turn to food. And I kind of counter that by training harder. So even during lockdown, I was training harder, but I also found myself turning to food as a source of comfort. It is just another form of addiction.
Mm.
But actually, I found that the biggest addiction I had, I didn't even recognize it as an addiction, even though I've written and spoken extensively about this, was this.
Yeah,
and I actually found this is the biggest gateway drug.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, honestly, you're telling me, and I'm doing it the whole time. You know, I used to talk all the while about keeping off the screens, you know, but now I'm on mine all the whole goddamn time.
Screen time has gone up, and this study was done at the beginning of the year. I'm sure this percentage is higher. Screen time went up on average 60%, because most of the things that we would do offline, that sitting in a meeting room, having a coffee, meeting up with friends and family, you know, football, whatever, like everything basically was transferred onto a screen. Life became a video game, quite literally.
Yeah.
And we literally could not see the full picture. We could only see what was in this little box. And I found myself doing that because I was craving connection. I was craving, time to be able to connect with the people I care about and to kind of distract myself from this feeling of isolation and loneliness. And what's interesting is when you spend time on those devices, you keep getting images of what life should be like. And all these people at home baking banana bread and doing like couch to 5K and having a wonderful time with their kids and the rest of it. And I was like, my life doesn't look like that. When I talk about your technology being a gateway device, a gateway drug, it's because you see these images, and when your life doesn't marry up with that, it creates disharmony. It creates a sense of dissatisfaction. And what do? Then we're looking for an escape. And that's where, sadly, we found alcohol consumption went up significantly. People are turning to alcohol. Recreational drug use, the anecdotal evidence is suggesting that's gone up. We know that opioid usage, particularly from the data coming out from the US, has gone up significantly. And obviously irresponsible pharma companies that are promoting that with adverts of happy babies and we're here with you to support your life. No, they're not. They're here to get you addicted because then you become a good customer. And I'm sorry for kind of, speaking quite strongly on this. If we genuinely cared about the health, welfare and well-being of a population, when there is a public health risk, a viral condition, what we should be doing is, rather than scaring people, because we know when people are stressed and in fear, your immune system's suppressed.
Absolutely.
So we both know when you're stressed, you're more likely to get ill. You're going to catch a cold or a flu or a bug or a bacteria. It's a biological fact. Don't believe me on this, fact check it for yourself. Your immune system is suppressed when you have gone into the biological state of stress. When we're putting up posters saying, Mark went to the pub on his way home, went to see Granny and killed her, or look into this person's eyes and say you did everything to save their life, or, stay at home and save lives. Well, I don't agree with that because it does not make biological sense. Actually, people that are happy and healthy don't get sick because your body is resilient enough and your immune system is strong enough to fend off bugs and bacteria. So we should be encouraging people to eat healthy. In fact, what we should have done is subsidized or even provided fruits and vegetables free of charge. What we should have also done is encourage people to take their vitamins, encourage people to exercise. The outdoor gyms that were all taped up should have been encouraged to be used. In fact, maybe even subsidize people to go to the gym and encourage them to do so, because we also know, statistically speaking, gyms were one of the safest environments, had the lowest risk of contamination. And we should also be encouraging people to drink water and all the other things that make us healthy, which also include social interaction. Because there is another hormone known as oxytocin, which when we have human contact, we are social creatures. We actually require social contact and interaction for our well-being. We know this. We know that people that are kept in social isolation suffer, get ill, and sadly die. And I've heard from people working in care homes and having family members in care homes that literally just gave up the will to live.
Yeah.
Because they rely on that, seeing friends and family, that social interaction to keep them going. You take that away, I don't want to be here anymore. And the moment you make that decision, your body will start to shut down. So this was fascinating. However, what you could do freely is you go to the supermarket, buy yourself a bottle of vodka, 20 Benson Hedges, other brands are available if you want to kill yourself, and pick up a McDonald's on the way home. Well, if you were going to ban something, if you're going to stop people doing things, in the face of a public health risk, you stop them doing things that make them sick, and you encourage them to do the things that made them healthy. We actually do completely the reverse. So this is really where I encourage everyone to take responsibility of your health and well-being. Just because someone told you to do something, if it doesn't make sense, you shouldn't be doing it. And this is really where we've got to, is we can only do this when we start talking to each other. We start understanding each other's perspective. If someone has thoughts and they disagree with what I'm saying, I welcome that. I want to talk to you. I want you to understand the way I see things. I want to understand the way that you see things. Because actually, if we raise the general health of the population, people don't get sick, or they don't get sick as much. And obviously, there are vulnerable people that do need to be protected, like people that have underlying health conditions or people of a particular age. So when we get better at this, then people start coming out of anxiety, because we then go into logical processes rather than emotional processes. A lot of the things that are happening right now are coming from a place of fear and emotion.
Yeah.
We don't make logical decisions. Anyone that's ever had an addiction to anything, drugs, alcohol, sugar, food, your technology, you know it's not coming from a rational place. Because when you stop to think about your actions, you think, this is crazy, this doesn't make sense, I'm harming myself. But we're doing it from an emotional place. We are now doing this collectively as a global population.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the difficulties is because, people have been isolated, and to a certain extent still are, when your own thoughts run away with you, you haven't got that person, to kind of say, oh, come on, let's just pop for a coffee. That's become less and less now. So that lack of human connection, I've really noticed it. I'm one of the lucky ones. I consider myself blessed. I've got a family. I feel very blessed that through this I've been okay. But I'm very, very aware of the, just many of the people I connect with, and of course all the stuff I see about people who really do not have that connection. I mean, how awful just to be on your own, and then you've got all these awful thoughts going around in your head. As you say, you've got your gateway drug of your phone. So people have been doom scrolling, the whole goddamn time. And the really difficult thing is we can't, to a certain extent, it's very difficult to kind of get yourself out of the funk, right? We need to be able to get ourselves out of the funk.
Fear is a very, very, very powerful emotion. It's something that throughout history has been used as a way of controlling human populations. When people are scared, they do what they're told, even if what they're being told doesn't make sense. It's the Romans that came up with the divide and conquer strategy. Machiavelli, in the book The Art of War, said, if you want to defeat the enemy, get them fighting against each other. Someone that doesn't agree with me or see the world the way I do is not my enemy. In fact, there's someone I want to talk to. I want you to help me to understand how you see the world. And I want you to understand the way I see the world, so we can come together and find a way forward. Because actually what affects me will affect you. This is affecting all of us. And that's where there have been, I'll be honest with you, many times over the last couple of months, I came this close to having a drink.
Really?
I came this close, literally. Because
I suppose that's because it's instilled in you from a long time ago that your unconscious mind says, this is how to handle this. Let's reach for a drink, because then we can numb out.
Yeah, and what I have done, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, and there are some people that will scream at me for this, but I actually went out and bought a couple of bottles of 0% gin. And I sat
No, we do that all the time. No, that's my absolute mantra. Keep the ritual, change the ingredients.
The other day, I literally drank half a bottle of gin. It was 0% alcohol.
Yeah, good for you.
It was just like, at least I'm not actually getting drunk.
Yeah.
I woke up the next day and I felt a little bit heavy because of probably the sugar or whatever else was in it. But I didn't feel depressed and despondent in the way that I would have if it was an actual bottle of gin. There are some people out there who will be like, oh, it's kind of like the vegan that eats the fake meat. I am that person too. But for me, it meant that I was able to scratch that itch, and I was really struggling with the way things are. Sadly, there are some people that will take that extra step and they'll find themselves going back to where they started from. And that's why we've heard statistics like a 1,500% increase in domestic violence. Drug and alcohol abuse has gone up. And sadly, even though it's not something we're comfortable discussing as a society, yes, we have seen an impact in the anecdotal data around suicide. We don't know the actual figures even from 2020 yet because of the delays.
Yeah.
But I guess, I don't want this to be a doom and gloom conversation. What I do want to talk about is how do we empower and inspire ourselves? Power literally means the ability to do or act. I think it was important to have that discussion to set the scene. But power literally is where we are making the right choices for ourselves, for our society, for our culture, for our children, for our neighbours, for our colleagues. And there is a choice. There's always a choice. We do get to decide. I know many of us feel like we don't have a choice, but we do. And it's when we start to understand that and reclaim our power is when things can start to change. When we start to reach out and build those bridges, when we move away from polarity and profanity and the amount of attacks and abuse that I get on social media for daring to ask questions. And when we move to a sense of unity and community, that's where we save humanity.
So where do we start then, Neil? I mean, there's a sense that obviously we need to start with ourselves. We need to look at our own thoughts and start where we are. But then we also need connection as well. And as you say, community, I think, has to become very important.
Of course. And one of my areas of background expertise is language and linguistics. I've written several books on NLP. I don't claim myself to be an NLP expert. Other people have labeled me with that, but it's something I know a thing or two about. As with hypnotherapy, I'm a trained clinical therapist. Again, that's not a badge that I wear, but it's something I have extensive training in. And language is a really interesting thing, and not just the language you use with others, but the language we use with ourselves. Now, let's say you enjoy a drink, you enjoy eating meat, you're pro everything I'm against, right? I could approach this with, Janey, you're like this and you're like that, and you're causing harm and suffering to animals.
Judgmental.
You're killing yourself. You. That's generally how people kind of start that conversation. Maybe not with the level of aggression that I'm using to highlight the point, but it's very much about, I don't like what you are saying. Now, what's happening there? We've gone into the blame paradigm. I'm blaming you. Now, you've got other people that, maybe have done some self-awareness work, and they're not going to blame you. They're going to blame themselves. And they'll look inwards, but they're still in blame. But they're like, I take responsibility for the fact that I'm really triggered by your behaviors, and it's really upsetting me. And your willingness to drink alcohol and eat meat and get vaccinated is really upsetting me because I don't feel like whatever. Again, I'm still in blame. I'm blaming myself. I might have painted a picture to myself that I'm a good person because I'm not blaming you. I feel sorry for you. I'm blaming myself. But both of those are still the blame paradigm.
Yeah.
When we step out of blame and into love, compassion, and empathy is when things start to change. And rather than approaching it from who's responsible, who's to blame, it could be, Janey, I understand and appreciate your decisions in life. I want you to know it brings up feelings of guilt and sadness within me. And I totally take full responsibility of those feelings. They are my feelings based on some of your choices. And I have fears around your choices because, in my opinion, and based on my research, that your choices may be harming you and may have an impact on your life, which could in turn impact your health. And I care about you, and I wouldn't want that from you. I just wanted to share that with you and for you to understand my perspective and also to hear from you what your thoughts are. What I'm doing now, there's no blame. I'm just sharing with you what's going on for me. And I'm asking for you to show empathy and to understand where I'm coming from. So it's kind of, we're really changing the dynamic from who's responsible, who's right, who's wrong, who's to blame, to I just want to open up. I just want to be open, honest, and vulnerable with you. And it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We absolutely need to take away the judgment in our conversations, and we need to bring in the kindness. Ultimately, isn't it about being kind? Doesn't that cover it, really?
You'd think so. It's one of the things that I feel has been lost so much over the last 18 months.
I mean, we had a hashtag, didn't we? Be kind for a while going around.
Yeah, we did. And there's been a lot of nice notions. But rather, I'm not talking about token gestures. I'm talking about like the way we show up on a daily basis. And it's not how you show kindness and compassion to the people that see the world the same way as you, but how you show kindness and compassion to people that don't. That is, for me, the most important thing. Because remember, it's not what you do, it's the intention you do it with.
Absolutely. It's that walk a mile in someone else's shoes, isn't it? I know you've been doing a lot of work recently around forgiveness as well, around gratitude and forgiveness. Let's talk a bit about that, because I think that's a hugely important, just a concept that everyone needs to embrace.
Just you asking that question has brought up quite a lot of emotion for me, particularly given today, and the memory of my father passing, and the sadness, the grief, the guilt, maybe even the shame of like not showing up in the way that I felt I should have around that scenario.
Well, I'm sure you're well aware, shame is just about the lowest vibration, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's one that many of us do carry, whether conscious or without conscious awareness. There's a practice I was introduced to many, many years ago, probably 8 or 9, maybe 10 years ago. It's called the Ho'oponopono practice. It's a very, very simple practice, developed in Hawaii. It's an ancient Hawaiian practice. It's very, really simple. It's 5 phrases repeated over and over. Not to anyone else, but to really be able to find peace and harmony and congruence within yourself. Whatever happens in the world, the belief system that birthed this practice is suggesting that anything that's going on in the world is as a direct result of an element of disharmony within yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, whoa, everything that's going on in the world, COVID, this, that, and the other, lockdown, that's not my fault. Well, the idea with this practice is you may say that's not your fault, but the moment you say it's not your fault, you have no power. But if you take responsibility, even for things that seem ridiculous to take responsibility for, what you can do is heal and harmonize that element of yourself, which then creates a ripple effect throughout the whole frequency of humanity. Because here's the thing, as much as many of us believe we are isolated individuals, we are literally cells of an organism, cells of the human organism, actually probably cells of the planet Earth organism. So something that affects us affects everything. The butterfly effect, butterfly flaps its wings here, creates a tornado in Malaysia, whatever. So the point I'm making is by taking ownership and responsibility and healing those parts of yourself, if nothing else, it helps you to feel differently about whatever scenario is creating disharmony within you. It's creating that feeling of guilt, shame, anger, sadness, whatever.
Yeah.
But actually, there was a guy called Hen Lu. He was a criminal, a doctor in an institute for criminally insane people in Hawaii. And he did this practice on basically a group of very sick inmates, very mentally sick inmates. And you can find this information online. It sounds ridiculous when I tell you the story, but he didn't even work with them in person. He got their case notes out and he started meditating using this particular practice. And actually, he was able to get all of these people beyond that state of serious mental instability to be able to heal them.
Yeah.
And I read that story and I was like, that sounds crazy. There is absolutely no way. And the first time I engaged in the Ho'oponopono practice, I was literally blown away how it changed my perspective and my outlook. So I started this practice and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this as a human service exercise, just a public service activity. We opened it up. And we just put a few invites out to friends, family, people in our network. The first time we did it earlier in the year, we had about 20 people that joined the practice with us every day. And it was beautiful. This time we opened it up, we had hundreds and hundreds of people. I don't even know where these people found us from.
Should we just share what the phrases are? I mean, I've spoken about it a little bit before on the podcast, but just share what the phrases are that people say.
Very simple. We've actually changed it. We've added a 5th phrase.
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say, I thought there was only 4.
There is only 4, but we've kind of adapted it to reflect where we are in 2021. So it starts, and some people change the order. Our order is, I'm sorry. Why I'm sorry? Who are you sorry to? What are you sorry for? Well, it's just an expression of sorrow for all the things that you are holding disharmony towards, all the parts of you that are left unhealed, all the bits that carry guilt, shame, anger, sadness, and all the people that you may have done wrong. Or maybe even the parts of yourself that you've let down, that inner child. So, showing that expression of apology. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Asking for that forgiveness, asking for that pain and sorrow to be forgiven. And that could be asking for yourself, from the universe, from a particular person. I love you. Whether, again, that you're showing that to yourself, to the collective, or to a particular individual, or to society in general. And thank you. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotions. For those of you who haven't come across this, one of the most powerful things you can do is just do a gratitude journal. Write 5 things in a journal before you go to bed every single day. of things that you're grateful for. And if you can't think of anything else, if you're going to sleep in a bed, you have a roof over your head.
Exactly. Grateful for that.
You've already got, more than many on this planet do have. But the fifth line that we've added, and this fits in with the hashtag together and hashtag better together, but also this real drive that we've got to create unity and community, is we are one.
Right. That's lovely to add that.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. We are one. And just, putting the invitation out, we end up with hundreds of people from literally every corner of the planet, people from Russia and Australia, East, West Coast America, Malaysia, South America. I don't even know who these people are. And it was run as an Instagram live every morning. A lot of people were practicing their own time zones. But it was so powerful, we decided to continue this. And now it's not just going to be the Ho'oponopono. Every week at 8 o'clock in the morning, for 8 minutes, we'll be doing some kind of free personal development activity, whether that's some yoga, some breathing, some meditation, some visualizations. So just encourage people to take action and start your day right. Start your day from a place where you're grounded, centered, you've got that love, peace, and harmony within, and hoping that we can then take that out into our lives and spread that through our daily interactions. Because that's what we need right now, rather than coming from that place of fear and isolation, of connection and unity, and power, love, and compassion. And most importantly, empathy. You may not see things the way others do, but allow yourself to tune into their perspective and see things through their eyes.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, because I think one of the hardest things for people is when they wake up, and the minute they wake up, their first thoughts are panic and fear, and then they go straight to the news, and then there's whatever else is going on in their life, and if they're hungover, that's even worse, and then they're beating themselves up, and it goes on and on. And if you can, as you say, start your day with that sense of gratitude, of compassion, of empathy, you're at least going to get off to the right start. And who knows, this collective raising of vibration has got to be a good thing, right?
Absolutely, Janey. And also, that phrase, the next time you're having a low moment and you're really struggling, and this is something I've started to do more and more recently, is when I've got that notion in my head, could really use a cup of coffee, a drink, which obviously would be a non-alcoholic gin and tonic or non-alcoholic beer, or some food or whatever. The first thing I do is I just stop, close my eyes, and drop into the practice. I do it 8 repetitions. So literally 8 rounds of the 5 mantras, which takes a minute, if that. And then I go back to that original impulse. Do I still want to do it? 99% of the time I don't. And in the 1% of the time I do, I go back and do another 8 rounds, and then I'm free. Because ultimately, I want us to be making the choices and decisions that serve us, fully. And actually, many of us are making choices from a place of emotion. And they typically, emotion-based choices often tend to be poor ones, because we're not thinking logically, analytically, we're not thinking about the consequence of our actions. And that's where we get ourselves into all kinds of trouble. So this is really a really great opportunity just to give yourselves a little bit of a reset, just by dropping in and just reaffirming to yourself what's important.
So when you use those phrases, then you don't think you necessarily have to be focusing on anything specific with each of them, literally just the words for the sake of the words.
It could be, yes. The words for the sake of the words can be really powerful. On my daily practice, what I've been encouraging people to do is just have an intention. And that intention could be, I'm upset about this, or this situation, experience, person triggered me. You set the intention, and then you let it go. You don't sit there and focus on it. Like throughout the practice, you just focus on the words. You're letting the universe do the magic. But it could be, this is what I'm practicing for today. In that moment when you're having the impulse to go for a drink, your intention is, I'm really feeling the urge to have a drink. My intention is to drop into truth. Do the practice, and then what is your truth post-practice? Because I'm pretty confident that will be the actual truth. In that moment, that impulse isn't your actual truth. That's an impulsive reaction based on emotion. Yeah, I get it. So where can people find you then on social media to connect with this? Absolutely. So you can find us at this Stress Management Society on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook, again, the Stress Management Society. We've got a Telegram group, which you can find online as well for the Ho'oponopono practice. All of this is really easily accessible through our website, which is www.stress.org.uk. So stress.org.uk. If you want to find out more about Better Together and Together, you can look up the hashtags #BetterTogether and #Together. Lots and lots of information there. And you also find me on Twitter, which is Neil Karma, NeilKarma. Pretty easy to find. If you look up myself or the Stress Man Society, you can find us pretty easily. Loads of free resources.
I was going to say, you've got some lovely free resources. I remember when I first came across your work, I thought, wow, these are just really great. They're, some fabulous graphics, really fabulous. And they really just, I don't know, sometimes you just need something to, you fill in a little thing, or you look at a little quote and you just feel a lot better.
Absolutely. And also to know that you're not alone. We're all going through this together. And as we stand together, we can work together to find a way forward. Many of us are feeling isolated, disconnected, and alone through this situation. And that, for me, is where people really start to struggle. When you feel that sense of support and you know that we're standing shoulder to shoulder to face whatever challenges the future holds, there is very little that we can't overcome.
Yeah,
we're too busy fighting and bickering against each other. Not only are we stressed, but we're not actually working to create that better future.
Brilliant. Neil, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. It's fantastic to chat to you. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Take care.
So as Neil says, we're better together, right? We're better when we're non-judgmental. and as I say, that theme absolutely runs through the Sober Club. So if you would like to join a community of like-minded people, then do check it out. It's thesoberclub.com. There's a whole member portal. We do have our private group where, an awful lot of the magic happens, of course. It's quite small. I'm in there kind of 24/7, but we also have a huge member portal with a whole bunch of amazing resources in there, regularly updated resources. We have Zoom chats and coaching sessions. This Sunday 24th we've got a free online fitness session with the sculpting coach. So we have all kinds of things. We do loads around nutrition and meditation and just everything, really, because ultimately it's all about living your best life without the booze. And it really doesn't matter whether you're at day 1 or year 4. There's always something, some new challenge we want to set ourselves, some new little behaviour change, or something we'd like to improve, or just maybe we just want to feel happier. So we really do cover it all in the Sober Club. I got a lovely response to Dominique, one of our Sober Club members, was on the podcast last week, Dominique, and a few people said, I thought it was really funny that Dominique her joy was so infectious, talking about how she feels like she's been given a second chance at life. And then when she said, I never thought that I'd be drinking kombucha and sewing my own underwear, or whatever it was she said, and all the things that she now feels brave enough to do. We had a lovely thread in our group this week about how people now they've stopped drinking, they have the energy, they have the wherewithal, they've suddenly can catch sight of the vision of what it was they always wanted to be doing and to get on with, and from that place, you really can go after your goals. You really can sort of have what you want in your life, or at least move towards it, when you're not kind of dragged down by the toxic liquid. So anyways, you know where I am if you want to get in touch. Check out thesoberclub.com. Make sure you have a look at that competition. Thank you for Nunc Living for giving us that great competition to win a case. That's at imperfectlynatural.com, the kind of sister site, but I'll put all the links in the show notes as well, and you'll see all the promo. And you know where to find me on social media, at Janey Lee Grace, or if it's Facebook, it's at Happy Healthy Sober, which of course is the title of my book. I haven't given that a plug for a while, have I? But check it out if you haven't already. Neil Shah, as I said in the interview, is one of the contributors to the book. There's a whole host of experts in Happy Healthy Sober, so I'm really proud of it, not just for my bit kind of thing, but for all the contributors who added such amazing insights into the work they do. We have NLP practitioners, people who do meditation and yoga, nutritionists, Dr. Gemma Newman, the plant power doctor, Denise Welsh wrote the foreword for me. So it's a little bit of a mixed effort, really, certainly not just me. Almost forgot to tell you, actually, that something ever so exciting, in that I've been working with Dr. Marilyn Glenville and collaborated on a new supplement, and I hadn't realised it was out yet, but it is. So there's a very special launch offer. You know, one of the things that I talk about an awful lot is how we can repair our liver, because most of us have done such a huge amount of damage over the years. But the great news is, you know, there's so much we can do. And so I've been working with Marilyn, because with clients, I've often ended up recommending, 5, 6, 7 different supplements when they've stopped drinking. And it's a bit exhausting trying to take that many kind of pills. So we've just sort of joined forces and come up with exactly what's needed. And I'm really, really chuffed with this product. It's called Advanced Liver Support. It's by Natural Health Practice, Marilyn's brand. And you can get it right now on a very special offer until Friday the 29th. There's this very special offer where you get 25% off and a free bottle of vitamin D3. So that is a super cool offer. So the website link, it's a bit long-winded. You can find it in the show notes or at the Sober Club, or you can just type naturalhealthpractice.com/ALS launch JLG. naturalhealthpractice.com/ALS launch JLG. And as I say, I'll put that in the show notes, and it'll be on the soberclub.com as well. So make sure you check that out. It's a fantastic product. It's a kind of do it all in one, all of the stuff you need. It's vegan, it's natural, high quality ingredients. It's a really cool product, though. I say so myself. Really proud to be, a little bit part of it. Advanced Liver Support. See if you can grab yourself some. I'll see you same time next week. Have yourself a good week, and please do share the podcast if you think any of your friends or colleagues might enjoy it. See you soon. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.